I never imagined my wedding day would feel like a punishment. There I was, standing in a silk white dress, surrounded by people who were pretending to be happy for me. But deep inside, I felt nothing but heaviness. I wasn't excited. I wasn't nervous. I was just waiting for it to be over. Because I wasn't marrying a man I loved. I was marrying a man who didn't want me at all. Adrian Cole. Tall. Handsome. Wealthy. And cold enough to freeze the entire hall. I stood across from him, and even though everyone else couldn't see it, I could. The resentment behind his eyes. The frustration twisting in his jaw. The disappointment written all over him. I wasn't the woman he wanted. And I knew that. He already had someone else. A girlfriend. Someone he loved. Someone he had promised a future. But our families decided for us. Our marriage wasn't about love, it was about power, convenience, and status. So when the officiant asked Adrian if he took me as his wife, he didn't hesitate. He didn't smile. He didn't even look at me. He just said, yes. Let's get this over with. And when it was my turn, I whispered my own yes, even though a part of me broke right then. There was no kiss. No emotion. Just 2 signatures and a suffocating silence. That's how my marriage began. His house, my new home, was massive. Beautiful. The kind of place you see in magazines. But the moment I stepped inside, it felt cold, like a museum where nothing living truly belonged. Adrian didn't bother giving me a tour. He didn't ask if I needed anything. He didn't ask if I was okay. He simply pointed down the hallway and said, "Your room is the second one on the left. We'll live separately. You do your thing, I'll do mine." Then he walked away. No welcome. No conversation. Not even an attempt at kindness. I swallowed the ache in my chest, dragged my luggage to the empty bedroom, and sat on the edge of the bed that felt too big for someone who suddenly felt so small. I tried to create warmth in that cold. I added flowers to the dining table. I cooked breakfast every morning. But Adrian didn't notice. Not once. He walked past me every morning without greeting me. He grabbed his keys and left for work like I wasn't even there. And every night, he came home smelling like expensive cologne mixed with a scent that didn't belong to me. His phone buzzed constantly. Melissa. His real girlfriend. The woman he loved, while I lived under the same roof as him. His wife, in name only. I told myself it didn't matter. That our marriage wasn't real. But the silence in that house grew heavier every day, and loneliness has a way of digging into your bones. Work became my escape. I stayed late. Took extra shifts. Anything to avoid returning to a home that didn't feel like mine. But hearts are strange. They get attached even when they shouldn't. They hope even when they know better. And somehow, slowly, painfully, I found myself falling for a man who barely looked at me. I told myself it was stupid. Told myself he would never love me. But love doesn't wait for permission. One morning, I woke up early and prepared a full breakfast, pancakes, eggs, fruit, even tea exactly the way he liked it. I placed everything neatly on the table and waited for him. When he walked in, I gave him a small smile. "I made breakfast," I said softly. He glanced at the food for half a second, then checked his watch. "I'm not hungry." My smile faded, but I still tried. "Maybe you could just try." "Roxanne," he cut in, "we're divorcing in a year. Don't make this harder." And just like that, he walked away. I sat there alone, staring at the food I made with shaking hands. And for the first time that week, I cried. Quietly, of course. I always cried quietly. But everything changed one night, in a way I didn't expect. I was sitting on my bed when Adrian walked into my room. His eyes were dark, his expression unreadable. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't angry. He just looked exhausted. "Adrian?" I whispered. He didn't answer. He just walked toward me slowly, and before I could process what was happening, his lips were on mine. The kiss wasn't tender. It wasn't loving. It felt like he was trying to escape something, or maybe forget something. And I hesitated, but then I kissed him back. Because even if it meant nothing to him, it meant everything to me. That night, we crossed a line. And after that, we crossed it again. And again. But nothing changed. Not for him. After every kiss, every touch, every moment that felt warm to me, he turned his back to me and slept peacefully, like I was nothing more than a temporary distraction. But for me, every moment sunk deeper into my heart. And maybe that was my mistake. Because I kept hoping he would feel something, anything, for me. I kept hoping he would look at me and see a woman worth choosing. But hope can be cruel. And love can be blinding. And then, the day came that broke me completely. I still remember walking into the house early, smiling because I brought home his favorite food, thinking maybe, just maybe, things were getting better. But as soon as I stepped into the living room, I heard it. The sounds. Soft at first, then louder. Moans. Breaths. Whispers. My heart stopped. I took one step, then another. And my entire world shattered. Adrian was on our couch. Half naked. With another woman underneath him. My food bag slipped from my hand. He froze. The woman scrambled away. And all I could say was his name. Adrian. He looked more annoyed than guilty. "What are you doing home?" he asked. Just that. No apology. No explanation. Nothing. My eyes burned, but I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I just turned around and walked away. Quietly. Like always. I locked myself in my bedroom and collapsed onto the floor. I didn't scream. I didn't shout. I just pressed both hands over my mouth as the sobs tore through me. I knew Adrian didn't love me. I knew he didn't want me. But seeing him with another woman, that pain was different. It wasn't a heartbreak. It felt like someone reached into my chest and crushed something I had been protecting with everything I had. I cried until my throat burned and my eyes swelled. But even then, I didn't stop loving him. And that was the worst part. Adrian came into the room later that night. I sat on the bed, wiping away the last of my tears, pretending to be composed. He stood by the door, looking irritated, like I had done something wrong. "Roxanne," he said, "this isn't working. I'm done pretending." My heart tightened. "I want a divorce." He said it so casually. So easily. Like our entire marriage meant less than dust. I just stared at him. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't say anything. He waited for a reaction, didn't get one, and finally left the room. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because of the heartbreak. But because of something else entirely. Earlier that day, I had gotten my test results. And they confirmed what the doctors had been hinting at for months. My kidneys were failing. I didn't have much time left. Weeks, maybe a few months. Without a donor, I would die. And the moment Adrian said divorce, I realized I didn't want to die without at least experiencing what it felt like to be loved by him, even if it was fake. Even if it was temporary. I wanted memories. Something warm to hold on to before everything went dark. So I made a decision. A strange one. A selfish one. But my only one. The next day, I came home early from work. Adrian was on his laptop in the living room when I walked in. "I'll sign the divorce papers," I said calmly. He looked up, surprised. Maybe he expected drama. Tears. But I gave him none. Good, he said, leaning back. But, I added, you have to agree to one condition. His brows lifted slightly. What condition? I took a slow breath. We have to date, for 2 months. He stared at me like he didn't hear me correctly. What? For 2 months, I repeated, we act like a real couple. We go out together. We talk. We do things couples do. He blinked. Then actually laughed. Roxanne, this is ridiculous. I smiled softly. I know. But if you want your divorce, this is my price. He shook his head. And why would I agree to that? Because, I said gently, after 2 months, I'll sign anything you want. And you'll be free. Completely. He hesitated. 2 months was nothing to him. And freedom was something he wanted more than anything. But I wasn't done. And during those 2 months, you stopped cheating. No, Melissa. No other women. This time, he frowned. Are you serious? Yes, I said. Completely. He studied my face for a long moment. I kept my expression steady, hiding the truth, that I wasn't asking to win his heart. I was asking for time, because I was running out of it. Finally, he exhaled sharply. Fine. 2 months. Then we're done. I smiled, a small, sad smile. Deal. And just like that, our fake 2-month relationship began. At first, it was awkward. Painful, even. He took me on dates but kept glancing at his phone like he wished he were somewhere else. He sat beside me in restaurants but didn't speak unless I spoke first. He walked beside me in malls but his hands stayed shoved in his pockets, far from mine. I should have felt foolish. I should have given up. But I held on. Because 2 months was all I had. Slowly, things changed. Not dramatically. Not instantly. But little by little. One evening, we cooked dinner together. He didn't know how to cut onions properly, and he almost sliced his finger. I laughed. And for the first time since we married, he laughed too. Another time, we went grocery shopping. He made fun of how long I stared at the cereal aisle, trying to pick a brand. I teased him about being impatient. We bickered. We bantered. We talked. It wasn't love. But it was something. Then one night, he reached for my hand. Not because he had to. Not because we were in public. Just because he wanted to. I felt my heart stumble inside my chest. A week after that, he kissed me. But it wasn't a rushed kiss. Not a frustrated one. Not like before. It was slow. Real. And his hands were gentle for the first time. After that, we fell into something soft. Something that felt like warmth after months of winter. We cooked together. Bathed together. Danced in the kitchen at night. Watched movies curled up on the couch. He smiled at me. Touched me. Held me at night like I mattered. And slowly, he fell in love with me. He didn't say it out loud. But I could see it. Feel it. The way he looked for me when I left a room. The way he kissed my forehead randomly. The way his eyes softened whenever he watched me laugh. One afternoon, he turned off his phone completely and told me he broke things off with Melissa. For good. I'm done with her, he said. I'm choosing you. And those words. They made my chest hurt in a new way. Because by then, I wasn't just running out of time. I had already resigned from my job without telling him. I had been spending my work hours at the hospital doing tests, searching for a donor, praying for a miracle. But none came. And one day, everything fell apart. It started like any other day. I left the house for work, just like I always did, smiling when Adrian waved goodbye, pretending I had somewhere to be. But I wasn't at work. I was at the hospital. I had been keeping it a secret, my kidney problems, my failing health, everything. I wanted to spend as much time as I could with him, without him knowing that my life was slipping away. I didn't tell him because I didn't want pity. I didn't want him to look at me differently. I just wanted us to be together, even if the time was short. That afternoon, I was admitted. They said they needed him to come immediately. And when he arrived, I could see the panic in his eyes, the fear in his expression. He was the man who had once walked past me like I was invisible. And now, seeing me pale and weak, he finally realized just how much he cared. "They said you're stable now," he whispered. "They said you'll be okay, but I have good news and bad news. Which do you want first?" I gave him a faint smile. "Good." He hesitated, then told me. I was pregnant. Twins. A strange warmth filled the room despite my weakness. We were going to have a family. Our family. And then came the bad news. My kidneys. They were failing faster than expected. The doctors had tried to find a donor, anyone compatible. No one from my family was a match and no one from his family was willing to donate. I felt my heart twist in my chest, the fear and the joy clashing in my body. I started crying. Not just tears, but sobs I couldn't hold back anymore. He held me gently, brushing my hair from my face, whispering words I had only dreamed of hearing. "I love you." I shook my head through my tears. "Don't say that just because you feel sorry, or because you know I might die," I whispered. "Don't say it out of pity." But he shook his head, holding me closer. "No," he said firmly. "I love you. I really do. I was going to tell you today. I wanted to pick you up from work and tell you myself." I broke down completely. I cried for everything I had lost, everything I had hidden, everything I had hoped for. And in that moment, I realized something. He had truly changed. The man who had once ignored me, cheated on me, and treated me like I didn't matter, was now the man who would do anything to save me. To save our children. He left the hospital for a moment. I watched him go, not knowing what he was planning. And then he returned, pale and serious, carrying something heavy in his expression. He had tested himself and he was a match. But he asked the doctors and nurse not to tell me he wanted to donate his kidney for me because if they did I'll refuse if I knew it was him. So they didn't. The surgery happened. I woke up to a life I could still hold on to. I woke up to him, smiling, pretending to be calm, hiding the sacrifice he had made. I recovered slowly, and as the months passed, I felt stronger. I felt alive. And I began to notice small changes in him, the way he ate differently, how he rested more, how he took medicines quietly. Something in my heart told me the truth. And when I confronted him, tears filling my eyes, he finally admitted it. He had donated his kidney. For me. For our babies. For our family. "I love you," he whispered again. "And I would do it all over again just to see you smile." I held him and forgave him. And we laughed, cried, and held each other for what felt like forever. Time passed. I carried our twins proudly, feeling the life growing inside me, feeling the man beside me who loved me more than I had ever dared to dream. We decided to renew our vows. A proper wedding this time. Not for duty, not for appearances. But for love. For us. We stood together in front of our families. And this time, when we said I do, we meant it. Every word. Every promise. Every forever was real. The day I gave birth, it was the happiest day of my life. A boy and a girl. Our twins. Our future. Adrian held my hand as we watched them sleep, his eyes soft, full of love and gratitude. I leaned against him, feeling his warmth, knowing that all the pain, all the heartbreak, all the suffering had brought us here. From strangers, to unwilling partners. From strangers to friends. From friends to lovers. From lovers to a family. Our arranged marriage, which began in pain, had blossomed into something beautiful. Something perfect. And as I looked at my husband, my children, and the life we had fought so hard to keep, I knew one thing for sure. Love isn't always instant. It doesn't always come easy. But sometimes, it's worth waiting for. Even if it takes a lifetime. And for us, it had taken everything. But in the end, we had everything.